How are you guys doing? Today is Saturday, December 4th, 2021. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to review the Elite matchups and performances from yesterday, Friday, December 3rd, 2021. And just before I get into that, I'm going to take a step back and just give you a quick glimpse of where we are in the calendar year. We are in the final month of the year. Of course, that is what December is. College football is just getting towards the end of its regular season as these conference championship games are being played. Following the next couple of days, the NCAA will decide what the bowl games will be. And those will take place over the next few weeks going into the beginning of the new year. Not to mention that college basketball on the other end has just gotten started. It's probably like a week or two or three into its season. At the professional level here in the States, the NFL has just finished its first matchup on Thursday for its 13th week of its 18-week season. And of course, it will resume on Sunday. Not to mention that the NBA is about a month into its season as well, and so is the NHL. And as we are entering the end of December, we are nearing the halfway point in the international soccer schedule for most of the European soccer. And with that said, I'm going to jump right in and start with what's going on at the collegiate football level, starting off with the first big conference championship matchup of the weekend. Looking at what went down in the Pac-12 championship game, the 17th ranked Utah Utes and the 10th ranked Oregon Ducks faced off. Utah Utes making it here after finishing with the best record in the Pac-12 South. They finished with a 8-1 record in the division. Oregon with a 7-2 Pac-12 record had the best record in the Pac-12 North. And Utah would end up beating Oregon 38-10 after they shut Oregon out 23-0 in the first half and still went on to outscore Oregon 15-10 in the second half. On the losing end of this matchup, the 10th ranked Oregon Ducks were led by their starting quarterback, Anthony Brown. He would throw for 147 yards and 2 interceptions. Their leading rusher, Travis Dye, had 15 carries for 82 yards and a touchdown. He also had 4 receptions for 27 yards. He would finish with 109 total yards of offense for the Ducks. The Ducks' leading tackler, Noah Sewell, would finish with 12 tackles on the day, and he would also finish with a 22-yard interception. The other interception for the team went to Verone McKinley II, as he would go on to finish with 4 tackles on his own. With the win, the Utah Utes, the 17th ranked team in the nation, were led by their starting quarterback, Cameron Rising. Rising threw for 170 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Rising would also run for 61 yards. That would be 231 total yards of offense. Their leading rusher, Tavion Thomas, had 18 carries for 63 yards and 2 touchdowns. Their second leading receiver, Dalton Kincaid, had 4 receptions for 61 yards as he had the team's lone receiving touchdown. Cole Bishop was the team's leading tackler as he had 8 tackles and one of the team's 4 sacks. On the defensive side of the ball, Malone Matele would finish with an interception as Devin Lloyd would have a 34-yard pick 6 to go along with his 7 tackles. With this win, the 17th ranked Utah Utes are 10-3 on the season, and they will finish their regular season with an 8-1 Pac-12 record, the best record in the entire conference. And with this loss, the 10th ranked Oregon Ducks are now 10-3 as they finish their Pac-12 season with a 7-2 conference record. That is how both teams were 7-1 in the Pac-12, and Utah came away with the best record in the Pac-12. Sorry for not clearing that up. And of course, today there are a good amount of championship games that I will get into tomorrow. Taking a look at what's going on at the college basketball, let's see what's going on the basketball side of the collegiate sphere. Starting with the second-ranked team in the nation, the Purdue Boilermakers hosted the unranked Iowa Hawkeyes. Purdue would end up beating Iowa 77-70 after they outscored Iowa by 13 points in the first half. The second-ranked Purdue Boilermakers were led by their starting guard, Jaden Ivey, out of Indiana. Jaden Ivey would go on to finish with 19 points and 2 steals in 29 minutes. He shot 7 for 13 from the field on the day. With this win, the Purdue Boilermakers are 8-0, and the unranked Iowa Hawkeyes are now 7-1. Purdue is now 1-0 in the Big Ten, and now Iowa is also 0-1, or Iowa is now 0-1 in the Big Ten. Taking a look at what's going on with the 7th-ranked team in the nation, the Texas Longhorns hosted the UT Rio Grande Valley Vaqueros. Texas would end up beating Rio Grande Valley 88-58 as they won this game by 30 after outscoring Rio Grande Valley by 25 points in the second half. The 7th-ranked Longhorns were led in scoring by their forward off the bench, Christian Bishop. Their senior out of Missouri would go on to finish with 17 points and 2 steals in 14 minutes. He shot 4 for 7 from the field and a perfect 9 for 9 from the foul line. With this win, the Texas Longhorns are now 6-1, and with this loss, the unranked UT Rio Grande Valley Vaqueros are now 4-5. Looking at the 8th-ranked basketball team in the nation, the Kansas Jayhawks faced off against the unranked St. John's Red Storm in the Big East Big 12 battle matchup. Kansas would end up beating St. John's 95-75, winning it by 20 after they outscored St. John's by 13 in the first half and by 7 in the second. The 8th-ranked Jayhawks were led in scoring by their starting guard, Christian Braun, their junior out of Kansas. Christian Braun would go on to finish with 31 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 steals in 35 minutes. He shot 10 for 16 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, and 9 for 10 from the foul line. Their starting guard, Ochai Ogbagji, would go on to finish with 23 points. He would also finish with 7 rebounds in 35 minutes as he shot 9 for 16 from the field and 5 for 9 from 3. With this win, the 8th-ranked Kansas Jayhawks are 6-1, and with this loss, the unranked St. John's Red Storm is now 5-2 on the year. Taking a last look at what's going on with the 15th-ranked team in the nation, the Houston Cougars hosted the unranked Bryant Bulldogs. Houston would end up beating Bryant 111-44. They would win this game, of course, by 67 points after they outscored Bryant by 31 in the first half, and then they would proceed to outscore them by 36 in the second half. The 15th-ranked Houston Cougars were led in scoring by their guard off the bench, Tremont Mark. Tremont Mark, their sophomore out of Dickinson, Texas, would go on to finish with 22 points and 2 steals in 28 minutes. He shot 7 for 11 from the field, and he shot 2 for 5 from 3, and a perfect 6 for 6 from the foul line on the night. With this win, the 15th-ranked Houston Cougars are 7-1 on the season, and with this loss, the unranked Bryant Bulldogs are now 3-5 on the season for themselves. Taking a look at what is going on at the professional levels, start going to the NBA because there were no Friday matchups yesterday in the NFL. Starting in Atlanta, the Atlanta Hawks hosted the Philadelphia 76ers. The Philadelphia 76ers would end up beating the Hawks 98-96 in what was a matchup of the Eastern Conference semis from last year. The Sixers would win this game by 2 after they outscored the Hawks 20-9 in the fourth quarter to overcome their 9-point deficit. The Hawks on the losing end of this matchup were led in scoring by their elite starting point guard, Trae Young. Young finished with 25 points, 4 rebounds, and 10 assists in 36 minutes. He shot 8 for 22 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3, and 7 for 8 from the foul line. The Philadelphia 76ers were led in scoring by their elite starting center, Joel Embiid. He finished with 28 points, 12 rebounds, and 2 blocks in 36 minutes. He shot 10 for 23 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3, and 7 for 8 from the foul line. And, of course, with this win, the Philadelphia 76ers are now 12-11. And with this loss, the Atlanta Hawks are also 12-11 at this point in the season. Taking a jump to what's going on in Indianapolis, the Indiana Pacers hosted the Miami Heat. The Heat would end up beating the Pacers 113-104 after they outscored the Pacers by 7 in the first quarter. The Pacers were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard, Caris LeVert. LeVert finished with 27 points and 2 steals in 37 minutes. He shot 8 for 16 from the field and 10 for 11 from the foul line. Their starting center out of Texas, Miles Turner, would finish with 20 points and 3 blocks in 34 minutes. Turner shot 7 for 11 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and 3 for 5 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Miami Heat were led in scoring by their elite starting point guard out of Villanova, Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry finished with 26 points, 3 rebounds, and 9 assists in 38 minutes. Lowry shot 9 for 18 from the field, 6 for 13 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. Also in their starting lineup, their starting shooting guard out of Michigan, Duncan Robinson, would go on to finish with 24 points in 30 minutes. He shot 7 for 11 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3, and 6 for 7 from the foul line. With this win, the Miami Heat are 14-9, and with this loss, the Indiana Pacers are now 9-16 on the season. Taking a look at what's going on in the nation's capital, the Washington Wizards hosted the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavaliers would end up beating the Wizards 116-101. I was actually at that game. The Cavs outscored the Wizards by 14 points in the second and by 8 in the third, by a combined 22 points in the middle 2 quarters. On the losing end of this matchup, the Wizards were led in scoring by their small forward off the bench, Deni Avdija. Avdija would finish with 26 points in 23 minutes as he shot 6 for 10 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and he made his only free throw attempt of the night. In their starting lineup, their elite starting shooting guard Bradley Beal finished with 14 points and 3 rebounds in 27 minutes. He shot 6 for 17 from the field and 2 for 4 from the foul line. The Cleveland Cavaliers were led in scoring by their starting point guard out of Vanderbilt, Darius Garland. He finished with 32 points, 8 rebounds, 10 assists, and 7 turnovers as he fouled out in 34 minutes. He shot 11 for 17 from the field, 5 for 6 from 3, and a perfect 5 for 5 from the foul line. Their starting center out of Texas, Jared Allen, finished with 28 points, 13 rebounds, and 2 blocks in 37 minutes. He shot 13 for 17 from the field and 2 for 4 from the foul line. With this win, the Cleveland Cavaliers are now 13-10, and with this loss, the Washington Wizards are now 14-9 on the year. Taking a look at what's going on in Brooklyn, the Nets hosted the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Nets would beat the Timberwolves 110-105, winning the game by 5 after they outscored the Timberwolves by 11 in the second quarter, and they had to outscore the Timberwolves by 4 in the final quarter itself. On the losing end of this matchup, the Timberwolves were led in scoring by their elite starting point guard, D'Angelo Russell. He finished with 21 points, 3 rebounds, and 11 assists in 34 minutes. He shot 6 for 22 from the field, 3 for 10 from 3, and a perfect 6 for 6 from the foul line. The Brooklyn Nets, on the winning end of this matchup, were led in scoring by their goated starting power forward, Kevin Durant. Durant finished with 30 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 assists, as well as 5 turnovers in 38 minutes. Durant shot 9 for 18 from the field, 12 for 13 from 3, or from the free throw line as well, not from 3. Their starting point guard out of Australia, Patty Mills, would finish with 19 points, and he would also, Patty Mills finished with 23 points in 34 minutes as he shot 8 for 15 from the field, 4 for 9 from 3, and a perfect 3 for 3 from the foul line. Their elite starting shooting guard, James Harden, would go on to finish with 20 points, 7 rebounds, 9 assists, and 2 steals, as well as 6 turnovers in 36 minutes, as Harden shot 4 for 11 from the field and 12 for 15 from the foul line. Neither Durant nor Harden made a 3 yesterday, but with this win, the Brooklyn Nets are now 16-6, and with this loss, the Minnesota Timberwolves are now 11-12. Now taking a look at what's going on in Houston, the Rockets, who had a tough start to the year, are kind of getting a little bit going. They hosted the Orlando Magic. The Rockets were able to beat the Magic 118-116, winning this matchup by 2 after they outscored the Magic by 5 in the second half. The Magic were led in scoring by their starting point guard out of North Carolina, Cole Anthony. Cole Anthony finished with 26 points, 7 assists, and 5 turnovers in 36 minutes. He shot 10 for 20 from the field and a perfect 3 for 3 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Rockets were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard, Eric Gordon. He finished with 24 points in 32 minutes as he shot 10 for 14 from the field and 4 for 6 from the foul line. Their starting center, Christian Wood, finished with 20 points and 13 rebounds in 34 minutes. He shot 8 for 18 from the field and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. With this win, the Houston Rockets are now 6-16, and with this loss, the Orlando Magic are now 5-19. Taking a look at what's going on in Dallas, the Dallas Mavericks, they went on to host the New Orleans Pelicans. The Pelicans would go on to beat the Mavericks 107-91. They won this game by 16 after they outscored the Mavericks by 20 points in the second half, by 15 in the third quarter. The Dallas Mavericks, on the losing end of this matchup, were led in scoring by their elite starting point guard, Luka Doncic. Doncic finished with 21 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists, and 7 turnovers in 35 minutes. He shot 7 for 20 from the field and 7 for 9 from the foul line. And then on the winning end of this matchup, the Pelicans were led in scoring by their elite starting small forward out of Duke, Brandon Ingram. Ingram finished with 24 points, 8 rebounds, 12 assists, and 2 steals in 38 minutes as he shot 7 for 20 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3, and 9 for 11 from the foul line. With this win, the Pelicans are now 7-18, and with this loss, the Dallas Mavericks are now 11-10. Now taking a look at what is going down in Utah, Salt Lake City. The Jazz hosted the Boston Celtics, and the Jazz would end up beating the Celtics 137-130. They won this game by 7 after they outscored the Boston Celtics by 13 in the first quarter. The Celtics were led in scoring by their elite starting small forward, Jason Tatum. Tatum would go on to finish with 37 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists in 38 minutes. He shot 12 for 25 from the field, 2 for 11 from 3, and a perfect 11 for 11 from the foul line. Their starting point guard out of Germany, Dennis Schroeder, would finish with 26 points in 39 minutes. He shot 10 for 21 from the field, 3 for 8 from 3, and a perfect 3 for 3 from the foul line. Their starting center out of Florida, Al Horford, would finish with 21 points, 6 rebounds, and 9 assists in 34 minutes. He shot 8 for 15 from the field, 3 for 8 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. The Utah Jazz, on the winning end of this matchup, were led in scoring by their elite starting shooting guard, Donovan Mitchell. Mitchell finished with 34 points and 6 assists in 33 minutes as he shot 12 for 22 from the field, 6 for 14 from 3, and he would shoot a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line. The Jazz starting point guard, their former All-Star Mike Conley, finished with 29 points and 7 assists in 32 minutes. He would go on to shoot 9 for 13 from the field, a perfect 7 for 7 from 3, and he would shoot 4 for 5 from the foul line. The Jazz elite starting center, Rudy Gobert, would finish with 18 points, 12 rebounds, and 2 blocks in 35 minutes as he shot a perfect 5 for 5 from the field, and he shot 8 for 10 from the foul line. With this win, the Utah Jazz are now 15-7, and with this loss, the Boston Celtics are now 12-11 on the season. Now taking a look at what is going on in San Francisco, the Golden State Warriors hosted the Phoenix Suns, and they would put an end to the Phoenix Suns winning streak. The Golden State Warriors would beat the Suns 118-96. They would win this game by 22 after they outscored the Phoenix Suns by 19 points in the second half. The Suns on the losing end of this matchup were led in scoring by their starting center, their former number 1 overall pick, DeAndre Ayton. He finished with 23 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 blocks in 32 minutes. He shot 7 for 16 from the field and 9 for 11 from the foul line. Their elite starting point guard, Chris Paul, finished with 12 points, 3 rebounds, and 8 assists in 32 minutes as he shot 4 for 8 from the field and 4 for 6 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Golden State Warriors were led by their goated starting point guard, Stephen Curry. He finished with 23 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists in 33 minutes. He shot 8 for 20 from the field, 6 for 11 from 3, and he shot 1 for 2 from the foul line. With this win, the Golden State Warriors are now 19-3, and with this loss, the Phoenix Suns are now 19-4. And last but not least, taking you to what's going on in the Staples Center, the Los Angeles Lakers hosted the Los Angeles Clippers. As in the only NBA matchup where both teams played in their home arena, the Clippers would end up beating the Lakers 119-115. The Clippers would end up beating the Lakers by 4 after they outscored the Lakers by 5 in the third quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the Lakers were led in scoring by their elite starting power forward, Anthony Davis. Davis finished with 27 points and 10 rebounds in 36 minutes, as well as 4 assists, He did all this in 36 minutes as he shot 10 for 15 from the field and 7 for 11 from the foul line. Their goated starting small forward, LeBron James, would finish with 23 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals in 36 minutes, as he would end up shooting 9 for 23 from the field, 2 for 8 from 3, and 3 for 5 from the foul line. Their shooting guard off the bench, Malik Monk, would finish with 20 points and 2 steals in 29 minutes. Monk shot 8 for 15 from the field and 4 for 8 from 3. And then the Lakers' elite starting point guard, Russell Westbrook, the NBA's all-time triple-doubles leader, would finish with 10 points, 2 rebounds, and 9 assists in 36 minutes as he shot 4 for 8 from the field and a perfect 2 for 2 from 3. On the winning end of this matchup, the Los Angeles Clippers were led in scoring by their starting small forward, Marcus Morris Sr. He would go on to finish with 21 points in 33 minutes as he shot 7 for 12 from the field, 6 for 9 from 3, and he made his only free throw attempt of the night. The Clippers' elite starting shooting guard, Paul George, finished with 19 points, 8 rebounds, 9 assists, and 2 steals in 39 minutes. George shot 7 for 20 from the field and 5 for 6 from the foul line. With this win, the LA Clippers are now 12-11, and with this loss, the LA Lakers are now 12-12. As with this matchup, the Clippers move ahead of the Lakers as big brothers for the season at the very moment right now. So that is what the NBA is looking like as we are moving into the weekend. And of course, as we move to the weekend, there's not much going on with soccer. The only big team that really played was Leipzig, and they lost to Union Berlin. But with that said, I want to thank everybody for listening to all 21 minutes of this piece. I, of course, want to thank the ESPN, the FIFA, the NCAA, the NFL, and the NBA websites for giving me virtually everything I needed for this episode. And of course, once all of these episodes once all of today's exhibitions and matchups are done, I will come back tomorrow on Sunday, December 5th for another episode of The Elite. So until then, I want to thank everyone for listening to this piece. I hope all is well, and I'll catch you with more of The Elite tomorrow as we move through the world of sports one day at a time. Thanks for listening. I hope all is well, and peace out.